In this introductory video, after some introductory words, I will present to you in a capsule what I found in my Bible to be God's plan to defeat this new global empire. Right off the bat, I want to say, this video is directed to anyone whom without religious prejudice and false religiosity believes that there is one God, creator of the heavens and the earth, believes in his Son, and believes the Bible. Even if the listener don't go to church, as we say, and is not affiliated to a religious membership. Actually, to a certain point, it is better if the listener does not, because his mind is not defiled with preconceived erroneous ideas that oppose the scriptures of the Bible. Many Christians ignore that they are under modern Christian beliefs that have been emerged under false religious matrix programming with ideas that block the truth of what the Bible is really saying. This message will sound kind of religious, if you will, but with the idea of rescuing the minds and souls of those under bondage. The Christian religious matrix has programmed the minds of their members to believe that it is impossible to be Christian without attending one of their churches, being controlled under one man, and the infallible 10% of their money. But that idea is far from the truth. Even when everything I say here is strictly attached to the scriptures of the Bible, what I am talking in this video is about a walk, not a religious affiliation. It's about a personal relationship with the Father and the Son, according to the Bible. It's about a spiritual journey with your daily personal life and activity. It's about entering to walk in the path of the immortals to obtain the best rewards ever available to mankind from the Most High. You will hear my emphasis saying that we need to be like Jesus. But when I say Jesus, I am not talking about the religious, mystic, and esoteric figure which the religious matrix program even presents as an effeminate figure. I am talking about being like Jesus in the sense that we can learn how to hear the voice of the Eternal Father and go and do what that voice is saying. Because Yeshua said, "Not everyone that calls me Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven, but those who do the will of my Father in heaven." And also, because studying the scriptures show that that was one of the main characteristics of Jesus, to hear and do the voice of the Father. If we are going to be like Him, we must learn how to hear the voice of the Father also. So even if you don't go to church, as we say, but you believe in God, you believe in His Son and the Bible, this message is for you. So when you hear me saying in this presentation, His people, you are definitely included. I can assure you, and I say it without arrogance, you certainly will not regret the time it takes to hear this information. You will see that this will be a well-invested time of your life activities. And I am not saying that I have all the truth, nor that I have all the answers. But certainly this information contains a couple of pieces of this end-time puzzle that definitely will provide a non-traditional perspective in the Bible interpretation. Now, when I say that I'm going to present to you in a capsule what I found in my Bible to be God's plan to defeat this new global empire, I am talking about compressing in one 25 videos. This is a summary of 25 videos placed in single video. So this is really a capsule. Please pay close attention to the next wording in the following biblical concepts, which will be explained later. Pay attention to the following wording. The Bible information I am sharing here, or the message I received from God for His people in this hour, is especially related to the biblical concept of the resemblance of the Son among the overcomers of the seven churches. To people who are not familiar with the Bible, those seven churches actually represent the universal church. Everybody who is a born-again believer, someone who believes in Jesus, including Israelites all over the world. So when it's saying seven churches, means all the body of Christ, of Jesus around the world. I will show you how that message of the resemblance of the Son among the overcoming believers overlaps in a very specific way with the chronology of end-time events recorded in the book of Revelation, and how that will bring a final victory over the new global empire, starting with the principalities behind it. We, as Christian believers, must understand that we cannot overcome this new world system if we don't bring down first the spiritual fallen entities, immortal entities behind this global empire. Now, this presentation consists in 5 parts. which are in a specific order in this channel in the playlist. You can find them in the playlist. Take note also, I am creating a backup of my videos in odyssey.com just in case I get closed in YouTube. And you can go there as it appears on the screen, odyssey.com. And when you get there, you can type in the search at many like Jesus all together, and you will get to the videos, these same videos as a backup plan. For those who are listening these videos in Odyssey, to find it in YouTube, if you want to hear these videos in YouTube and go to my channel, the channel is called Jesus in Revelation, and it's very easy to find. In YouTube search, type Revelation and the letters IEI, and you will be, I think it will be one of the first videos that appear on top, and you will see big letters, big green letters that said introductory video. That's how you can find it in YouTube. The part 4, the message contained in part 4 and part 5 is so important and critical to the church today that I am asking anyone who comes to this channel to skip parts 1, 2, 3 for now and leave it for later, because the part 4 and part 5 contains the main, most important message on my end. In this introductory video, I will try as much as possible not to expand on distracting information, but to concentrate presenting to you in a capsule, as I mentioned before, what I found in my studies to be the next end-time events in God's calendar for this world. I will give you in a capsule the very main points presented in this series of videos. My request to you is not to judge or jump to conclusions using only this video. I consider that to be unfair, because I am bringing an extensive explanation of biblical base for my arguments in the whole videos, in the whole channel. In other words, all videos uploaded in this channel are a single presentation of 5 parts, but not only that, all videos in this presentation have been designed in a specific order that would lead the listener to receive all necessary biblical information to become like Jesus, to the best of my limited biblical knowledge and understanding. All videos in this channel are sequential. Every video is the continuation of the previous. To get all the message I received from God studying my Bible, I highly recommend to you to listen to all videos in the order they were uploaded. If you skip one, you will probably miss a link related to the next, but that is totally out of my control. A common problem I found is that many people who listen as believers, they have not even read the book of Revelation entirely. Even worse, they have not even read the whole Bible in their entire lives. They take some verses from here and other verses from there, plus adding some verses they hear someone else preaching somewhere. Then I come and say something I found in my studies through the years that does not sound familiar to them, and they reject the whole presentation without even reviewing the verses given for any argument or conjecture. But that will be their immaturity. There's nothing I can do about that. Listen very carefully, because all the following concepts are explained and proved without a shadow of a doubt in the whole channel. I found in my studies at home since years ago God's plan in the Bible to defeat this new global empire, which is being implemented before our own noses, and there is nothing we can do about that. But the information related to this new global empire and how God will defeat it is only one piece of the whole cake. There is something higher. There is something bigger. There is something more behind all this empire that the Bible calls the beast in Revelation 13 and in Daniel 7, which I will also explain in these videos. So, what is that something bigger I'm talking about? What is that something higher behind all this new global thing and all his tentacles in all levels of society all over the world? Well, the higher purpose behind all of this is that our Father and God, creator of the heavens and the earth, will transform many believers to the likeness of the one that pleases his heart, who is Jesus. Many like Jesus. Many like Yeshua, the Messiah, in different levels of glory from the overcomers of the 7 churches. That's part of what I found in my studies. And through those overcomers, he, the Father, is planning to bring down Satan and all his principalities in the air over the nations, so he, the Father, can accomplish his promise to the Son when he said since antiquity, listen up, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand till I'll make your enemies your footstool. We find that in Psalm 110:1, which, by the way, is repeated in the Bible at least 7 more times. Do you think that's by chance? I don't think so. Now, remember that every phrase I am mentioning here has a 100% Bible explanation, and I am asking the listeners to give me the opportunity to prove with the Bible the argument presented here using all the videos in this channel. Take it as a Bible study if you want, or a quarantine studies, or even as institute classes if you will. But in order to get the best of it, I recommend to do it in the order they were uploaded, because they are sequential, to prepare yourself to flow with God's purpose of having an army of people who will become as the one who pleases his heart, to bring great eternal glory and praise and worship and honor to the one sitting in the throne and the Son sitting at his right hand. I want to mention what I present here are not new revelations, but the revelation that is already in the Bible. It has been there all the time, but sometimes we have preconceived ideas that block our spiritual eyes to see the truth. That's one of the reasons for me to create many videos, because there are many ideas in the minds of Christian believers today which program our belief and interpretation in certain direction and leave no room for any other interpretative scriptural possibilities. Just to give you an example, we as Christians have been programmed to believe that the Great Tribulation consists in 7 years. Immediately after we hear the expression Great Tribulation, our programmed brains, our minds immediately think in 7 years. We are programmed to that. But hold on a second. Is there any other biblical alternative interpretation to 7 years in the Bible? The answer is yes. There are many verses that back the alternative that the Great Tribulation is not 7 years but 3.5 years. Now, take notice, I am not telling you right now that the Great Tribulations are 7 or 3.5. I'm not saying that right now. I'm just giving you an example that when I'm saying that we shouldn't be narrow-minded, they shouldn't be programmed and close our hearts to other, always biblical, interpretative alternatives. We need all the right pieces in order to fully complete the whole puzzle. Beloved in Jesus, the worst thing it could happen to you going through this presentation in the designed order is that you will learn a lot of Bible. So you have nothing to lose. And you will also have the opportunity to consider other biblical alternative possibilities. I am asking you again, give me the chance to share with you what I found in my studies and listen with Christian maturity. I am not asking you to swallow everything I say, but for you to revise it with your Bible as it is written in 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Test all things, hold fast what is good. So what follows is part of a summary of the next end time events in God's calendar that I found in my studies at home. Remember, this is just a brief superficial panoramic view. I am not mentioning many details in between which will be explained later. To take off in this capsule, I'm gonna mention one verse to start, but I will not be giving too many verses to go fast to give you what I found in relation to God's plan to defeat this new global empire. And I'm going to read in 1 Peter 4:17, where it is prophesied that there is a pending God judgment against his own people, saying, "For the time has come for judgment to begin at the house of God, and if it begins with us first, what will be the end of those who do not obey the gospel of God?" So we have here a clear reference in relation to a pending God's judgment against his own people. And notice the emphasis of the verse saying the word first. And why is saying first? Because the Bible teaches that there is another judgment coming after that first judgment. But the next one, this time, is against the wicked. We'll start with us first. And when God is done with us, when God is done cleaning the church, he will certainly judge the wicked. I can expand here, and there is a lot to extract from this verse, but I will say that it results astounding, remarkable, incredible that there are Christians out there where this verse had no place in their end time doctrines, have no place in their end time ideas, a piece of the puzzle that does not fit a vast majority of believers today. Tell me something. In your end time belief, where exactly are you going to insert this piece of the puzzle? Where are you going to put this judgment in your doctrine and your way of thinking in regards to end time events? Just think about it for a second. If Jesus comes tonight, this verse will not be fulfilled. That brings a series of problems, conflicts with other passages, and hermeneutical consequences. But I just have to leave it here. For the time being, my point here is that the Bible teaches a judgment against his own house first, and we certainly not escape. That brings us to the next point, that the severe judgment against his own people will be executed by this new global empire. This is what I found in the Bible. But there is more. The pain, the suffering, and affliction caused by this new global empire against Christians is already growing and growing right in front of our noses, and we don't see it. That pressure against Christians will grow in intensity, will grow in cruelty. The empire laws will be more and more strict, will increase in severity and consequences until the point when it will be impossible to obey because we go against the very principles and moral values from the heart of our God, against the Word of God. Then persecution is imminent. Many will be killed like rats, and their loved ones too, all to the point where beheading will be the norm. But the rest of the people will see these executions as necessary because these rebels are not obeying the empire laws. And let me tell you, since many years ago, U.S. Army warehouses are piling guillotines. And I believe since 1996, I guess, there are laws already written on that regards, and nobody's talking about that. You may already know that there are local ordinances in several places in our country, United States, where it's forbidden to sing to God because of the little bug, I'm going to call it pestilence. Those are just excuses of the wicked. They are more than ready to persecute Christian believers all over the world. So let me resume or give a summary here. There is a pending judgment against his own people. That judgment is executed by this new global empire. The sufferings caused to Christian persecution are the labor pains in the Bible, is registered in the Bible, which are the next level. Those are not the beginning of sorrows. That is after. The labor pains are after the beginning of sorrows. So we are talking a new level here. Christendom will be divided. Those who cracked under pressure, those to whom it will be easier to give up, not to suffer, those who will prefer to succumb, pain, and deny Jesus, those who will turn against his own brother and betray their brethren, accusing them before the authorities because they are not obeying the government laws. Just a little parenthesis here. In regards to the face mask ordinance, in the United States, there are Christians more than ready to accuse their own brethren before the police because they are not wearing masks. They are getting so sold to this system that if Jesus himself comes tonight but without a mask, they will prefer not to go with him, but turn him to the authorities. But what I'm saying here is that because of contradiction and opposition against Christians, there will be those who will join the flow of the masses and follow the beast. I am convinced that no one with a good heart will be deceived. It will not depend on brain or intelligence, but in a pure heart. But on the other side of the same coin, within Christendom, under persecution, the pain, the suffering, the opposition, the contradiction, the anguish, the social frustration, and eventually the killing of millions of Christians globally will cause true Christians to cry out with intensity, to cry out in pain, in desperation, in anguish, to the point where they will sanctify themselves, departing deeply in their own hearts to anything related to sin in their lives. This pure and profound weeping in prayer before the Most High will produce deep, true holiness in their lives in a very profound way. And what is that? It's in the Bible. It's God cleaning His church through suffering, through contradiction, through opposition, through anguish, through social frustration, through the suffering of social injustice. God is cleaning His church. True believers are going to experience in their own flesh the saying in 1 Peter 4:1. I am reading in New King James Version. For he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Listen to that. They will also experience in their own flesh the saying in Hebrews 12:4. I'm reading in English Standard Version. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. There are many aspects of suffering that I'm not mentioning here, which will be included also. But as I mentioned before, that profound suffering that the church will go through are the labor pains. But what follows to labor pain? What is next? After labor pain, we have the birth of a child. But this time is not a fleshly single baby in a manger. The description and the wording in Greek in Revelation 12:5 clearly reveals that what is born is not a child, but a mature son. Yes, is Jesus, but now is Jesus multiplied in many like him. It is prophesied. It is in the Bible, and I'm going to prove that. Yes, is Jesus, but is Jesus manifested in many. Is one company. Is one army. The prophecy of Jesus himself, by example in John 12:24, it will be fulfilled. The grain of wheat that was planted 2,000 years ago is now becoming a harvest. Did you ever heard? Did anyone ever told you? Jesus pronounced the following words in the very text of the Bible in regards to his death. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. That's John 12:24. We will retake this later, and I can't get into details now, but I really get so excited when I see this in the scriptures. Listen to me. The high quality of the grain that was planted 2,000 years ago will be the same high quality of the harvest. Can you at least begin to assimilate what that really means? Many like the grain that was planted, many like Jesus, many like Yeshua HaMashiach. The extremely high quality of the grain that was planted now multiplied, many like the original seed that was planted, who is Jesus. But there is more. What happened next in the chronology of the book of Revelation, in Revelation 12? What is next after the manifestation of the Son is born out of the woman who is the church, and I'm going to prove it without a shadow of a doubt, but I can't right now. But what is next in the chronology of the book of Revelation after the mature son is born? After the mature son is born, what is next? We read that in the very same verse, Revelation 12:5. Who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron? Listen to that. The newborn, who is not a child but is a mature man according to the Greek wording, who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. Now, listen very carefully. Jesus himself, in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 26 and 27, stated that the overcomers of the church will receive authority just as him received authority from the Father to do what? To rule the nations with a rod of iron. The verse read, the one who conquers and who keeps my works until the end, to him, listen, it's not to all the church, it's not to all believers, it's to him who conquers, it's the overcomers, it's those who keep his works, who are obedient to the voice of the Spirit, to the voice of the Father to do what he asks. To him I will give authority over the nations. And listen to verse 27, Revelation 2:27. And he will rule. He will rule them, the nations, with a rod of iron. Jesus is saying that the believers, common believers, Christian believers, who become conquerors, who become overcomers, they will receive authority over the nations and they will rule the nations with a rod of iron. Yes, is Jesus, but multiplied in them. Can you see it? Yes, is Jesus ruling the nations. That is Jesus multiplying in many like him. Yes, is one. That is one company. Yes, is one. That is one army of sons that will please the Father's heart, obeying what he says. And I will retake this in future videos and prove it without a shadow of a doubt. But after that, what happened next in the chronology of the book of Revelation? What follows? Those who are born to the stature of the measure of Christ as the Son is accompanied. And what happens as soon as that Son is born? What does the scripture read in the very verse we are mentioning right now, right after saying that he will rule the nations with a rod of iron? What is next? And it says, but her child was caught up to God and to his throne. What is that? What are the scriptures telling us right there? What is that end time event? The rapture is right there. It's been there all the time, but our preconceived ideas are blocking our spiritual eyes to see. There is a lot more to explain about this, but I have to remind myself that I am just presenting a panoramic introductory view here. I understand that the religious matrix had programmed our brains, even as believers, to believe that the rapture happens in Revelation 4:1, but that idea causes so many conflicts with the scriptures and many aspects, and that even without mentioning the fact that that idea destroys the chronology in the book of Revelation. I am aware also that many deny the chronology of the book of Revelation, but the reason behind that denial is that their preconceived erroneous ideas do not fit the narrative given in the text of the book. And the easiest way to escape with what they want the book to say is the denial of that chronology. Unfortunately, I have to leave it here. I cannot continue with this. But what is next after the Son is born? What is next after the Son is taken to heaven? What follows in the chronology? Remember, the Son that was just taken to the heavenlies are many like him. Is one Son manifested in many like him from the overcomers of the seven churches. The very text in Revelation 12:7 is telling us, now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. A war in the heavenlies. Oh, brethren, there is a lot here. A war in the heavenlies? And who has just arrived to the heavenlies? Why is that war precisely happening when these new arrivals come to the heavenlies? Is right there, is in the text, is in the very context of these passages. Those who've been dressed with incorruption and immortality got to the stature of the measure of the fullness of Christ. The overcomers of the seven churches, the conquerors of the seven churches who had received authority over the nations. Now, as immortals, they have the authority over the principalities in the spiritual cosmology above the nations, and also have the power to kick out the prince of Persia and the prince of Greece and all those who reign as principalities over the nations. Is in the scriptures. Had you ever heard that the believers will judge the angels? Had you ever heard the words of Jesus himself saying that those who participate in the first resurrection will be like angels in Luke chapter 20? Had you ever read that? What we have here is the new B'nai Ha-Elohim taking the nations by force, starting with the powerful fallen immortal entities that influence the nations today. The spiritual cosmology of the air over the nations, where all principalities are fired from their powerful positions. They are fired of that office. The spiritual cosmology of the air over the nations, now under new management. Now, the new world order can be completely destroyed and annihilated forever over the face of the earth and delete forever from mankind history once and for all. Now, when you see this in perspective, who are the puppets, the earthly puppets? Men, there are following, there are promoting, there are pushing through organizations and secret societies and you name it. Think on whatever name you want of the multi-billionaires who are affecting this world. Those are nothing. Those are nothing, and they will soon be completely and eternally lost. Again, I have to remind myself that this is only a brief summary and a panoramic view. But there is more. I'm not done. I will just mention the following event according to Revelation 12. What is next? What follows after that battle in Revelation chapter 12? Satan and all his gang is taken down and thrown from the heavenlies to the limits of the planet Earth. It's right there in the text. We need a lot more than a modern Pentecostal brother screaming and rebuking without a drop of anointing. We need more than that. According to God's plan in the Bible, He will have people who have been dressed in incorruption and immortality to receive the likeness of the Son in order to overcome these powerful, fallen, immortal, metaphysical enemies. Listen to the following truth of the kingdom of heaven. A mortal warrior, a mortal soldier cannot defeat an immortal entity, an immortal warrior or enemy. The mortal warrior must become immortal, and now through Yeshua, through Jesus, in the first resurrection, after gaining incorruption and immortality, we have the opportunity to become immortals, becoming like Jesus, to defeat these powerful, immortal, fallen entities. And I explained with more detail about this starting in part 5. Now, even when there is a lot more explanation and Bible to prove without a shadow of a doubt what I'm saying here, I have to leave it here. I think that I already communicate a panoramic view in this science fiction-like paradigm of eternity. God's plan in the Bible to finish this new world order is starting with the spiritual powers behind it. And what is more amazing in all of this is that God's plan in the Bible includes simple, mortal believers like you and me. He's calling you to this. It's not by chance that you are listening to me. He wants you to be an overcomer. He wants you to participate in all of this. And He has sent me to share this message, to recruit people who will follow this purpose and this direction to become like Jesus and gain the glory that He has promised to the overcomer. The good thing about this is that in His plan, He includes simple mortal believers. Simple mortal believers like you and me to have a leading role in this paradigm. But we must flow with His purpose. This is not for all believers. It's for those who understand and flow with His purpose. Blessed be the name of the Most High, Creator of the heavens and the earth, and the name of His Son, Yeshua, the Messiah, who is sitting at His right hand. All these will be proven later with lot more details and aspects not mentioned here. I finished this introductory video asking the listeners to be mature in the sense of not jumping to conclusions without giving me the opportunity to prove with the Bible all previously mentioned concepts and conjectures. But I leave you with a unifying verse, a link verse that will bring all of us as believers in Jesus in a single path, and that is Ephesians 4:13 that reads, "Till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ." I deeply believe this verse is not saying that we all have to believe exactly the same in all Bible details of interpretation and have all the exact same doctrine in everything. It's not saying that. My understanding in this verse is that he's saying it right there. It's in the very text. He's saying that the unity of faith is the knowledge of the Son of God to the point where we all pursue the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Can you see it? Even when we disagree in many details of the Bible and non-core Bible teachings, in different doctrines and aspects of the Bible. We all can walk the path of the immortals towards behind the curtains of the Holy of Holies, where Jesus or Yeshua awaits the overcomers of the seven churches. And remember, all these series of videos are sequential. The next is a continuation of the previous to the best of my limited knowledge, so the listener could have everything needed as believer to become like Jesus. So I strongly suggest to go to part 4 and then to part 5, listening to the message in the order the videos were posted to get the best of it. Above all, pay close attention to anything related to the likeness of the Son and how the Eternal Father is giving you the opportunity to attain the highest possible glory level ever available to mankind in the paradigm of eternity. May the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah, give you peace of mind and heart now and forever. Amen.